Oh, welcome. Oh, wow. Even more people. Wow. I'm not used to so many people. Usually I just talk about haiku and there's like 20 folks. So yes, you can actually script the web with Weboob. So just a quote I found from Tim Berners-Lee, who said the web is about transmitting information to everyone regardless the platform. When he says information, it doesn't really mean the look or how many pixels to the left or the right. It's just information. Except CEOs just want their website to look everywhere the same at the pixel. So basically they want Flash, not the web. Oops. Yeah. Wrong key. Okay. So when you want to find data on the web, you need to open your browser, go to the URL, wait for megabytes of HTML, JS, CSS, sometimes Flash. Well, that's not really part of the web, but anyway, to load. And then maybe when you scroll down the page, you can find something interesting. Some people know about Control F, but you need to know what you are searching for. So basically, you iterate until you find. You copy-paste, you strip the spaces and whatever, but then it's a bit late, so you go to sleep, and you don't profit from it. So what if we could just do something, URL or ID or pattern or whatever, pipe, grep, pipe, cut, pipe something, and just profit from it. Of course, there's curl, wget, but you just get the HTML without the CSS, the JS, and so it's just not the data. Sometimes the data is not even in the HTML code itself. It's sometimes inside a JSON file taken from an Ajax call or whatever. So here comes Weboob. It means web outside of browser. No, I didn't come out with the name, so if you have complaints, mail the authors. There's usually, every time we try to get a release in Debian, there's a lot of trolls about it, but well, I'm not responsible for this. And basically you have many modules that can be instantiated as backends, so you can have the same module for 2 or 3 websites. And they implement capabilities like bank, video, and whatnot. It's written in Python, and there is a Python framework for it. There are command line tools. There are also GUI tools with Qt. So the framework, as I said, separates information into different capabilities: video, banking, messaging. Messaging can be mails, but also tickets on Bugzilla or whatever. And you can either pass it a URL or an ID, a unique ID at the backend. And of course, you can search for things. And it also emulates a web browser for the module to get the data. So both HTTP calls using the existing Python frameworks, and also parsers for HTML, XML, JSON, and even PDF, because sometimes you want to extract information from bills, and the bills you get are PDF files. And the web browser engine has been rewritten, so it's now even easier to use. Here you've got some of the modules. There's a whole list on the website. So as I said, tickets are basically messages. They are handled like emails. So you can actually write a gateway to email something, and it ends up in the bug tracker of your choice. And also French banks Maybe some others, I'm not sure. I didn't really check. They are used by real companies to do real stuff, like Budgea, and Cozy Cloud has a module that uses Weboob to get banking information. That's something Cozy can do because they are very small, that Google really wouldn't even want or even dream about doing, because everyone would go at them and say, oh no, you won't get my bank account info as well as my mail and everything else. There are also shipping providers, so you can actually use Weboob to track your shippings, and video, of course, even with the Libre software meeting videos. I looked at the FOSDEM side, but it doesn't really have a search field, so it wouldn't really be very useful. And then you can even search for jobs. So writing a module in Weboob, you just need to provide a few files. Well, you need just list the base module class, and then module, browser, and pages. And you, of course, need to write a test, because websites break. Most of the icons in Weboob are really crappy on purpose, because we didn't want to infringe trademark or whatever. So yeah, let's try to make a module in Weboob. There's a tool called boilerplate, which actually writes the skeleton for you. You just pass it the name of the module and the capability you want, and just writes it for you. Then you update the module database, and you can check the info of your already created module. And by the way, if you don't want to install Weboob just to try it, you can actually use localrun.sh and pass it the Weboob commands. It will just work after git checkout or whatever. So let's just have a look at it and fill the blanks. And you can also, of course, look at other modules to see how they do things. But first, as I said, sometimes the data is not in the HTML code. And the HTML code used to change a lot because, well, people don't like stable things. And it usually needs a lot of escaping, ampersands, and whatever. And sometimes the declared encoding is wrong and whatever. So before you try to parse the HTML, just make sure you don't have the nicely formatted JSON data or XML or whatever. And make sure you locate only the data you want and not some other junk. So the module we just got, it just exports the module class itself. So we just subclass the base module. And for a job module, we have 3 functions, 3 methods to provide. The advanced search with separate fields is optional. On the website I targeted, there's not really any advanced search, so just empty, just not provided. And basically just passes the call to the browser class. The browser module class, sorry. So it maps the different URLs you can have on the website to pages to parse. So you can have a search page, job page, whatever. And so you can provide it with regex to filter the different URLs. And that's the code. So it just also forwards the request to the correct page class. And there we go. So that's where the real work is. So I'm not really entirely familiar with some of the Python syntax, so the at method and whatever. So I dug it a bit, but I wouldn't really be able to explain you exactly how it works. But basically, the interesting part is below. So you can use filters to say, I want the clean text of the title tag for this field and whatever, and we'll just iterate over the page. So that's just to get the job advert. And for the search page, you also just iterate over the results and just say, take the anchor tag, which have this class. And then for, sorry, and then for each item, you just want to take the link item that we are and use a regex on it, and then take the results. So it's really a few lines, and you've got the data you need. That's not really the full text because there are some more fields, but that's at least you get a title, the description, and the idea. So now we can actually test it. So we should be able to find at least one Linux-related jobs on a site called Linux Jobs. So we just ask the backend search job Linux, and we just make sure there's at least one. So let's do it. So we update the module database, and we can query for a job by specifying this backend only, or else it would just go to every configured backend. Since it hasn't been configured yet, it would ask you if you want to do it. You can enter some fields and just rerun the search with some more options to debug and whatever. Then you can query the infos for this ID at Linux Jobs, and then run the tests. And before you upstream your patches, please make sure you have actually running tests and the other Python syntax tests are okay. Now we have command line tools. So command lines is nice. It has an interactive interface, but sometimes you want just the data and you don't want to mess with to fiddle with the formatting. So we provide a large list of formats for you: CSV, JSON, whatever. So you can do, for example, hey, let's search for Python jobs on this website, put this in a CSV file, and because LibreOffice doesn't really like stdin, so we just make a temporary file, and then launch LibreOffice Calc with the proper CSV filter parameters to make sure it will read the CSV file correctly, because there are many different flavors. And then you will just get a spreadsheet of all the Python jobs. But you might also want to use the framework. So, for example, here's what you would do to see what's in your bank account. You just import Weboob, you import the capability from the bank type. You just get an instance of Weboob, you load the backend for this capability, and you can iterate the accounts and see what's in the balance. So hopefully you've got some profit. We can also do some other stuff, like I showed you a job module. Well, you can actually say things like, well, let's load the backends for the job modules. And for each of those words, we will use this tag cloud library that I found. There are some others as well. And we'll just make a tag cloud of all these words with a size depending on depending on how many jobs we found. So we just count how many items are in the list when we iterate over the result of the job search for each of these words, or one. The actual code has some more checks because, yeah, that's way enough. Because well, the code was crashing with inside SDL, so you have to have at least 10 as a size, but well. And then you create the tag, and it looks like this. So it's an interesting way to show what's inside the website. We also now have a continuous integration system because, well, people love breaking their own websites. Who knows why? But because we rely on them for important data like bank account info, especially for real companies, we actually have to fix it real soon. So now we know this module broke this test, and we can fix it. So if you want to contribute, like, say you have a website that's providing job offers, and you want people to be able to use Weboob to search your website, you can now send us pull requests on our own GitLab server. If you are publishing a website, please, please, please stop breaking them every time. We also welcome donations to the French non-profit that supports the project. So you can become a member of the association. And there's also professional support available. So if you want to use Weboob for a professional system, you can have real assistance without having to dig yourself. And whoa, I was quite fast. So thank you. I hope you understood everything. And well, I welcome both your questions and your patches. Questions? Yeah.
I like your optimism and thinking that people are going to be breaking the websites every 2 weeks, but they do. I'm curious how you handle upgrading Weboob modules to handle those things. That's just downloading a package with your distro that updates every 6 months isn't going to work.
So question was, you are quite optimistic about websites not breaking every 2 weeks, and how do you handle module updates in regard to distro packaging, which tends to actually, been sometimes several years behind. You've seen the Weboob update command. Now you can actually use Weboob with the update subcommand. It actually fetches directly from Git, if possible, so you can actually install Weboob yourself and get the modules updated regularly without relying on the package management system, which is a bit sad because I either don't really like having to go around the proper package management system, but for this kind of things you don't really have the choice. So there's another Git repository with only the official modules that are maintained there.
What do you consider the biggest advantages of Weboob over Scrapy?
What are the advantages of Weboob against like Scrapy? I don't really know Scrapy much. I've used things like YouTube DL or whatever for videos, but not really anything else, so I can't really say. Sorry. Yep. A bit louder, please.
Are you able to handle content generated through JavaScript, like AJAX requests and things like that?
So are you able to handle content generated by JavaScript, like AJAX requests? I'm not, I don't know if we already have a module that does it. I think sometimes websites want to generate hashes and stuff like that on the client side to validate the input of the AJAX request or something like that. I'm not really sure. I would have to check the modules. But I know some modules actually emulate AJAX requests to actually get JSON data instead of parsing ugly HTML code.
Overflow client for it?
Sorry?
Is it Stack Overflow? Can you search the Stack Overflow with that?
Oh, so can you search Stack Overflow? Sorry. I can tell you. Dev Weboob. STA. I don't have any module that starts with STA, so you can send a patch, please. Yep.
A reference implementation for a banking. There's only French banking support, and I want to make a banking support for my bank in my country. I can't compare it with a French bank because I have bank accounts. It's a reference implementation.
So is there a reference implementation for banking modules outside of French banks? I'm not actually sure there are only French banks, but I only know about them. I didn't really check all the modules because they are quite a large list. There are Fortuno. I think some banks like AXA Bank are maybe international enough that they also handle the non-French versions. I'm not sure. So you probably just want to ask on IRC maybe. By the way, yes, we do have a Weboob channel on Freenode if you want to join and ask questions I don't have the answer for yet. More questions or? No? Oh. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you a lot. And you will have, as other speakers, Belgian chocolates. Wow.